like to just highlight that our second topic for today is about the draft standard for requirements for NPPOs if authorizing entities to perform phytosanitary actions. This standard has long been in the making and did suffer a few setbacks, but now I can update you all that it has been adopted during the CPM15 on its first day, which it was on the 16th of March. To speak a little bit more on this standard and its relevance to us as a seed industry, I would like to welcome Ric Dunkle, which is a member of the ASF Systems Approach Working Group, also a member of the ASF Phytosanitary Committee, and Senior Director of Seed Health and Trade for the American Seed Trade Association. My dear friend Ric, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Rose. Let me try to share my screen here and get this up.
Yes.
Let's see, I still have a problem. Oh, geez.
Now we can all see your presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. And again, it's a great privilege to have the opportunity to speak on behalf of the International Seed Federation on this particular topic. As Rose mentioned, this draft standard was adopted at CPM 15, March 16th, not March 15th. But we were very enthusiastic that this standard has now been adopted. And this standard provides guidance to national plant protection organizations on how to establish a third-party authorization or accreditation system for performing certain phytosanitary actions on behalf of NPPOs. And for the purposes of this presentation, many to most NPPOs actually use the word authorization, but the word accreditation is more used in the industry, but they basically mean the same thing for the purposes of this presentation. And so I want to emphasize that this new standard provides requirements for NPPOs if they decide to authorize entities to perform specific phytosanitary actions. So it's not a mandatory standard. It's if an NPPO decides to set up a system, this particular standard provides the necessary guidance. And again, another emphasis is the fact that under this standard, the NPPOs retain the ultimate responsibility of issuing phytosanitary certificates. So the purpose of the third-party system is to collect information that NPPOs need to issue phytosanitary certificates or enforce various regulatory decisions. So again, some examples of phytosanitary actions that an NPPO may decide to authorize to an entity or a third party include things like monitoring, sampling, phytosanitary field inspections, in this case, seed health testing, surveillance, treatments, post-entry quarantines, and destruction actions on contaminated seed lots. And again, this standard is not specific to seeds. It is third-party accreditation in general, but it provides the framework that we urgently need in the seed industry to move forward. So again, the word entity is defined in this new standard, and it includes providers of phytosanitary actions. And these could be individuals, organizations, enterprises, and where appropriate, their facilities, such as equipment, labs, et cetera. And in some cases, authorization of entities may require an NPPO to approve individuals within the entity even who may be responsible for certain phytosanitary actions. So when we look at the elements of an authorization program, how does this work? What does the framework look like? Well, this standard provides guidance to NPPOs on determining the scope of the program. These programs can be very, very narrow to very wide in scope. It provides information on legal frameworks. It emphasizes transparency and integrity. It provides guidance on how an NPPO can go about developing a program, establishing criteria for eligibility, documentation requirements. So if an entity wanted to apply to become authorized or accredited, what kind of information does that entity have to provide? And then also it provides guidance on conflict resolution. So where there may be a disagreement between the NPPO and the accredited entity. So again, there's a lot of emphasis on accountability, addressing nonconformities. So if there's a problem that arises after an entity is accredited, how do you deal with that? And there's a whole litany of information relative to appropriately addressing such nonconformities. Training requirements, and this is training not only for the entities, but also for the NPPO staff, because in this situation here, the skills, knowledges, expertise for an NPPO to administer an authorization program, those are different from actual phytosanitary actions that they're currently doing now. So how to accredit, how to monitor, how to audit, these are other types of skills that the NPPO needs to consider developing. Also, transparency, a huge emphasis on how to avoid conflicts of interest, provides the mechanisms and guidance on auditing as well as records management. So when we look at this from the industry perspectives, there are vital rules that the NPPO third-party accreditations or authorizations need to have. And from the industry point of view, these systems expedite phytosanitary certification of seed shipments. We're running into a situation in the seed industry where many NPPOs around the world are relying more and more on, for example, seed health testing. And when you do seed health testing for export certification, the burden falls on the exporting NPPO and the laboratory system within that NPPO. And we recognize that those laboratories are not just testing for seeds, but they're testing for any commodity that needs to be, for which an export certification is needed. So these third-party systems will play an important role in facilitating safe seed trade. And we want to also recognize that accreditation and auditing, these are very common within the industry. There are many industry-driven programs that are set up on the basis of auditing and accreditation. And we all have the common goal here. Phytosanitary security is a major aspect of seed quality. And from the industry perspective, any pest in or associated with seed reduces seed quality. So again, when we look at applying this new ISPM to accrediting entities for seed export certification purposes, these vital functions in there include not just the typical field inspections and seed health testing, but also methods development. And in particular, seed health testing methods development is a very important component here. Transparency of methods and accreditations and audit processes maintain accountability, both within the regulatory community and the industry. So that's where transparency and accountability become very important. Third-party accreditation standardizes the use of acceptable phytosanitary practices. So this we believe will provide a great opportunity to work quickly toward harmonization of various practices and methodologies through that third-party system. So even though this is a new standard, there are a few NPPOs that have third-party authorization systems for seeds. The one I'm most familiar with is the National Seed Health System in the US. However, there are other very strong systems elsewhere, such as Nachtenbouw in the Netherlands, which is a very similar program. In the US, the National Seed Health System authorizes entities for 4 basic phytosanitary actions: seed health testing, phytosanitary field and greenhouse inspections, seed sampling, and seed visual inspection. The authorized entities under the National Seed Health System include private laboratories, crop improvement associations, university laboratories, as well as delegated authority to the various state regulatory personnel who act on behalf of USDA. And in the United States, there are a number of what we call crop improvement associations that are industry-driven associations that provide services to the agricultural industry, to farmers and growers, and so forth. And so part of that is phytosanitary field inspections, for example. In the US, the program is administered by Iowa State University under delegated authority provided by USDA APHIS. And the value of having this thing administered through a university is it provides an opportunity for R&D, for research and development, and for pest risk assessment as well through the academic system. And so the National Seed Health System is also very actively engaged in evaluating and approving seed health testing methods. And this is one of the actually more important functions of the National Seed Health System. And this system is governed through a policy and program advisory board, which is a stakeholder advisory board, where stakeholders are seed companies, state associations, other universities, crop improvement associations, and so forth. And again, when we look at the structure of the National Seed Health System, it is already compliant with the new international standard. So where are we today? We believe that the seed industry, this is a great opportunity to encourage NPPOs to consider establishing a third-party accreditation or authorization system. And why do I say that? Because there's a mutual benefit here in that it provides value both to the NPPO as well as to the seed industry, because as I've mentioned before, we're really seeing a lot of lag times and bottlenecks in just the ability of NPPOs to provide seed health testing data or conduct phytosanitary field inspections or other phytosanitary services in a timely action to get those export certificates issued for the industry. And it can become very costly to develop laboratories and so forth. But if this is transferred to the private sector, there's a real incentive within the private sector to provide these services. And again, we believe that once we ultimately get more NPPO sponsored third-party accreditation systems, this will provide an opportunity to further develop and improve harmonized seed health testing methods in particular. This will enable more efficient use of limited resources and will expand the capability of NPPOs to issue export and re-export certificates. And again, we're all in the game of wanting to improve overall phytosanitary security. And so the more this can happen at the international level, I think the better off everybody will be. So again, one of the other emphasis I wanted to make under the National Seed Health System that NPPOs should be aware of is that these third-party entities, when it comes to seed health testing, they're only authorized or accredited to conduct seed health testing using only methods that are approved by the National Seed Health System. And so these methods have gone through a validation process and are approved by the NPPO for this particular purpose. So accredited entities for the purposes of export certification can only use these methods. However, they are allowed to use other methods to provide information to their customers. So with that, I think I'll stop here. And again, I want to compliment the IPPC on the ultimate passage of this international standard. We believe this is going to be a great benefit both to the NPPOs as well as to the seed industry as we move forward. Thank you very much.